All this snow, rain, graupel, whatever we've been seeing lately, especially in the mountains, has certainly made a lot of people start to wonder if this summer will be as bad when it comes to the drought. Most of the state is in the midst of a severe drought right now for the second year in a row, so every drop does help. But it may still leave a lot to be desired, literally, for Idaho's ag operations who are still bracing for major water shortages and drought plans. Tomorrow marks the first day of irrigation season for the Nampa Meridian Irrigation District, which sends water through the Treasure Valley using canals, the major one being the Ridenbaugh Canal. And they will begin to see flowing water there at 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. This means farmers will soon be able to water their fields and their orchards. But how do things look from the irrigation district perspective? Joe Paris asked the question and got a complicated answer.
In the darkness of this Thursday morning, Treasure Valley water managers will begin sending water through canals and ditches to agriculture operations. The big question on the eve of irrigation, will there be enough water to power farming needs?
That's honestly something we're going day by day. As everybody's probably aware, it's been in the news a lot. We thought in December we had it made, and then Mother Nature cut off our supply.
Greg Curtis is the water superintendent for the Nampa Meridian Irrigation District. That district covers many areas in Ada and Canyon County. For months, Curtis and other water managers watched and hoped for improved drought conditions for 2022.
Yeah, we've been watching the supply all winter long and had concerns. And like everybody else, we kept thinking, oh, this next storm's coming, and then we didn't get much out of it. So it's been a challenging winter.
Curtis says you need to go back a few decades to find a dire drought situation like the valley is seeing now.
The last time something like this has happened, all of us have went back and looked at our records, and this really looks like 1992 all over again. From my standpoint, 91, we had a little bit of a shortened season, kind of similar to what we did last year. A typical good year, we will run till about October 15th, somewhere in there.
There are major concerns that the irrigation season will not make it that deep in the year because of the lack of water resources. As Curtis says, they can only send as much water as nature provides.
This year, we're not sitting as good as we were last year. And so in 1992, we went out in August. And I'm not saying, I don't want anybody to say Greg Curtis at Nampa Meridian said we're going to go out in August. We don't know. But that could be very well what happens. It just depends on how the demand is and where we end up.
Demand can be tough to gauge ahead of the season, but Curtis says there is encouraging conversations in the community about conservation.
Farmers have to do what they have to do to make it through. Some of them are using well water and whatever to get them through, and they have changed what they planted or chose not to grow some crops. But what I've really appreciated in all this dialogue, a lot of people have called up and said, what can we do to make sure the farmers get more water?
If you've thought to yourself, can I personally make a difference on the water situation? Curtis has this insight.
This year is going to be really important for everybody to do their part, that if your lawn's doing fine, don't water. The biggest misconception out there is the water's in the ditch. If we don't use it, it's going to waste. And that could not be a more wrong statement. This water in this valley gets used over 5 times again and again and again.
The less water used, the more supply available, meaning water managers could extend the season on very valuable crops.
Sugar beets and corn and alfalfa, it takes the water it takes, especially if the heat turns up. If everybody else does their part, then we can extend this season and get them where they need to be in at least into August.
And water managers are also reminding people to clear out their ditches and canals, as well as really to clear the right-of-way so the water teams can get in there and do any maintenance or any last-minute adjustments they need in the canals. That way, water can flow clearly. Now, safety is important, too. Do not go into the canals and tell your kids they are dangerous, too, because, well, they are very dangerous. And we have this whole conversation, Brian. A huge piece of it all is, of course, the farmers and the agriculture operations. And it's interesting. I spoke with one farmer today, and I've spoken with farmers at the State House really leading up to this water season, and really just in the halls at the State House, they chat about, oh, people in my community, they're really worried about water. We've already had to hear about them cutting back. Farmer I spoke with this evening, Brian, tells me that he's already cut back at least half of his corn planting. meaning he's losing half of the possible profits that he wanted to plant just because he's concerned there won't be enough water to make sure he can actually grow. So it's a major problem.
Because corn uses a lot of water. That's true. And I know that there's some people in this state, some farmers in different parts of the state would be thrilled with an August deadline when it comes to water because their season may even be shorter. That's what he said about that water being used 5 times. I mean, it goes to Lake Lowell, right? And then it just and then they can reuse it there. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, and there's also, there's ability to have it recycled in other parts of the process. It's not a one-for-one replacement in the sense that everything that comes down the Ridenbaugh we're going to see again. But through different avenues and different ways, they are able to reuse the water, and they're able to purify it. And as you mentioned, it ends up at Lake Lowell. And there's a lot of options to really what to do with the water. The problem is, how much are we going to have?
Exactly. All right. Hopefully what we get now will help a couple months from now.